Grief is a great transformer. And if you can get to the other side, it brings tremendous grief, tremendous strength and awareness, and how you come out as a new person, another person. It almost adds a different level of sympathy, compassion, understanding. And it just brings more insight, and it could guide you to your purpose, what it's all about.
Hello, and welcome to Grief, Gratitude, and the Gray in Between podcast. This podcast is about exploring the grief that occurs at different times in our lives in which we have had major changes and transitions that literally shake us to the core and make us experience grief. I created this podcast for people to feel a little less hopeless and alone in their own grief process as they hear the stories of others who have had similar journeys. I'm Kendra Rinaldi, your host. Now, let's dive right into today's episode. Welcome to Grief, Gratitude, and the Gray in Between podcast. Today, I am chatting with Rebecca Schaper. She is an author, a filmmaker, and a mental health advocate. Her latest book, Roses to Rainbows, My Dog Gus in the Afterlife, explores the grief and spiritual connection after an unexpected passing of her beloved dog, Gus. And we will be talking about that as well as chatting a little bit about her documentary called A Sister's Call, which was a way of her being able to help her brother recover from homelessness and schizophrenia and kind of bringing him back into her life. So, welcome, Rebecca, to the podcast.
Thanks, Kendra, and thank you so much for having me on here. I'm really looking forward to this open conversation, and you can ask whatever you want because I'm an open book, no pun intended.
Oh, like it is so as I was well, in all honesty here to the listeners, the focus of the call of this conversation is primarily Roses to Rainbows, and that was really what we're going to be talking about. It's her latest book, and that was the focus of this conversation. But as I was researching a little bit more about Rebecca and found out about this loss that she had in a certain way of not seeing her brother for 20 years because of schizophrenia, of him suffering from schizophrenia. I'm like, oh my gosh, Rebecca, can we please also talk about that? So we are going to see how we intertwine this and how we see where our conversation goes. If by chance we don't get to a certain topic, then we'll have you back on the podcast. So
That
we'll
sounds great. I love that.
All right, Rebecca. So, how about we start with you sharing about your family dynamics, your upbringing, and then your sibling call, and then we'll go from there, and then we'll come to the present and find out more about Roses to Rainbows. How about
That
we
sounds
go that way?
great. All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. I came from a family of sexual abuse, alcoholism, mental health issues. Both my parents died by suicide. Now, with all that being said, I had an older brother named Call, Call. And probably when he was in his first year of college, he disappeared. And I just really feel deep in my soul that he disappeared because he could not take the trauma of everything that went on in our family. And he hit the road. He just left. So, with that being said, I always knew he was alive, always. And I got married and, had children, but I always was wondering where he was. So, fast forward, I started going on all these searches with, I thought, some of the addresses where he may be. And that way I'd have some type of document to say, okay, maybe he's here or maybe he's there. Well, no, that didn't happen. Um, throughout 20 years. And, but I had this inner sense that I knew he was alive. I just knew it. So I'll tell you how we found each other by a miracle, okay? I found out that my brother was actually 2.5 hours from Atlanta in a place called Haven of Rest in Anderson, South Carolina. Now, he had been there for a couple of years. And what they do, they have the patients go out and pick up furniture at people's home that want to get rid of it, and they bring it back to their thrift store, and that's how they, that's how they get their income to help these people who are having health issues. So they went, my brother and another guy went to a address, got out of the truck. He walked up the steps, knocked on the door, picked up the furniture, got back in the truck, and he happened to look at the form, and it said, I won't do the punchline yet, but it said a person's name. So he got back out of the truck and he knocked on the door and he goes, Marge, do you know who I am? I am Rebecca's brother. Marge is my husband's mother.
And she lives in that town
And
where he was doing.
yes, in Anderson, yes. He said, she said, she said, call, you have no idea how long your sister has been trying to find you. Come on in, we'll call you. I'll never forget it. It was 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'm rarely at home at that time. So the synchronicity of that in the phone call, we were all in line with everything to happen. And so she called me, and I went directly up to Anderson, met him in the parking lot of Haven of Rest, and just, just gave him a big hug. It was a wonderful, reuniting with each other. So then I thought I had this soul calling. It wasn't me, but it was a guidance, a soul calling to do a documentary on my brother, to show that my brother has a soul. He's a person. He's an individual. And I would, excuse me, bring back the memories that I remembered of him, and to express that he is a very loving soul. So I asked him if he'd be willing to do this, and he said yes, absolutely. It's almost like he was waiting for me to say this. So it took 14 years to film, and we completed the film. And in 2012, he passed away by colon cancer. But we kept going to film festivals, and he was, let me backtrack here, he was incredible on stage when people would ask him questions, but when he had enough, and he got off, and that was fine, because there was so much that he was picking up, because he's very empathic, extremely empathic, and there was just so much he could handle, and then he needed to escape. But he lived in nature. That was his peaceful place, was in nature. And I do believe nature pretty much, I would say like 80% healed him. He just knew how to live off the land, and what he knew, even living off the land. I'm like, how did you know all this stuff? But so,
Wow,
yeah,
wow. So let me ask you a few questions regarding that. So when you had a feeling that he was alive, yet you really didn't know, and even within that, it's 20 years of not seeing him when he disappeared. How did you handle this, complicated grief of like knowing he's alive or feeling he's alive, but at the same time not being able to see him? You as a younger sister, how many years younger are you than he was?
I think three, three,
3 years.
three. Yeah.
You as a younger sister, this is your older brother, your parents had already died. Like, how did you manage your grief then? Like, what were the tools that you used? We know you write, you have this idea, filmmaker's mind. What did you do?
Well, my mother passed away in 1977, and that's when he left. My father died he died by suicide in 1988. So there was a 10-year span, but my father knew where he was, but never told me. He called, my brother would come and visit him sometimes and then leave, but my father never told me. So I was in loss. I was like, I have no idea where he is. You know, the best and honest way I can explain it is it was a knowing, just a knowing that I knew he was alive. That's the best way I can explain it. And I grieved because I wanted to show who the person he was. That's more what I was grieving, because I knew at some point, through synchronicity, through alignment, when everything was supposed to happen, when it was supposed to happen, we would reunite. But the grieving part was that people really didn't know who he was. So that's more what I was grieving. And I still, to this day, yes, he had some issues, but I still, to this day, that he was not, did not have schizophrenia. I know this may sound a little odd to your audience or whatever, but this is my truth. This is how I feel this so strongly, is that the voices he was hearing was from other dimensions, because my mother did the same thing. And I truly believe that there were individuals that didn't know where these voices were come from. And yeah, he probably heard voices that were not good. He told me that they were male voices. And because I was very curious about these voices. And from then on, that's what I focused on. I didn't focus on his illness, his diagnosis. And he was on a lot of medication because the Greenville Mental Health System, which I got him under, took him under their care. They got him an apartment. But the medication flattened him out. And I just, yeah. So,
What what I love that you took on to this project to be able to do and bring not only awareness of who he was and who he is at his essence, but also just it brings awareness to all anybody that would see it. I only saw the little trailer. I need to know how to be able to watch the film, like how where you can find it. A sister's call,
it's Amazon Prime.
oh, it is okay.
Yeah, but I think there's a rental fee,
Oh,
and
it doesn't
it's,
matter.
yeah, it's been so long ago, and I can't believe it's still running. So I've kind of put that journey behind me, but
Yeah,
I'm very open to talk about
to
it.
talk about it.
I
Well,
help with
I
others.
think it has still an element of how it ties even to what you experience now after Gus's passing, and so we'll kind
Mhm.
of we'll talk about that in a minute, because you mentioned even him having this awareness of maybe something more, right? That
Yeah,
maybe that was in his empath component. So with you being able to create this, and for us as a community, as people, like there is so much misconception and about homelessness and about mental health, and we don't know people's stories in
right,
general, and
right.
so to be able to create something that really brings light as to the people, seeing them for who they are, they are, and the story, in this case your brother's story, is just so important, because we really never really know someone's whole story. So
No, no,
that's
we
that's
don't.
that's
Yeah.
beautiful that you did that, and what a labor of love of doing that for 14 years and
Oh,
leaving this
yeah.
legacy.
Well, my family embraced him too. I have two daughters, older daughters, and a wonderful husband. And at first, it was a little iffy because they weren't sure where he stood or his mindset. But once they got to know him, they we embraced him. We would take him to our beach house, and he would come and play games, and it was he we tried our best for him to interact and live as much as a normal life as possible.
Thank you again for going on this path of that part of the conversation. That documentary
Absolutely.
is A
Sure.
Sister's Call then, and you are also an advocate for mental health
Yes.
awareness and as well. Thank you.
Yeah, another woman and I from London, we created a podcast. Well, she has her own, but on mental health issues, and it was 2020, and we interviewed a lot of people on the cutting edge of mental health. So there's so much misinformation, like you said, out there. There's so much that has come forward since the documentary, and I'm really happy to see that. I'm really happy to see that people are more opening up, because you're right, we don't know people's story. And it's on the outside looking in, you're like, okay, here's this guy sitting on the street. He's a drug addict. He steals or whatever. There's kind of that stigma. But that what I would suggest is let's go a little deeper
Mm.
and really see what's going on there.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you,
Sure.
and thank you for call for having been part of your life and us calling him into this podcast. Literally,
Yes.
calling.
Yes. Yes.
Now, share now your current family dynamics and how Gus plays a part in your life and how the his passing um, inspired you to write this book. And this is a conversation, really. The book is a conversation, correct?
Yes.
I have
Yes.
not read it yet, but it's a conversation with you and Gus and him telling you that, at least that's what I got from the little snippets of what it is, telling you of the afterlife. So,
Okay, so let me just back up here. Just so I can thread this all the way through. I had no idea how to do a film. None. No, I didn't know how to write a book, because I did write another book about my brother called the documentary was a backbone of it. I didn't know how to do that, but
oh, so you're not a film. So when you
no,
get set onto that, you're not a filmmaker.
no,
It was
no.
just
It was
you
it
a
was my
calling.
soul calling, and people walked into my life. I did pick up a camera, took one course, and started shooting. And I have a background on photography, which is a strong hobby, but
Mhm.
that was it. I just knew I had to do it because I was called to do it, and when I'm called to do it, I do it. So, what I'd like to tell people in your audience: don't be afraid. If it, universe course corrects you, you're like, you're going this way, but trust it. So the documentary is the backbone of the book, The Light in His Soul: Lessons from My Brother's Schizophrenia. And I didn't know anything about writing. Gerald Jones, he was a master and helped me out. He lived 5 minutes away from my daughter in Santa Monica. How about that? I didn't even know that. I mean, I didn't know that. And so everything came to fruition, and that was 2015. Okay. So then fast forward 2023, our 6-year-old dog named Gus passed away unexpectedly. And that grief was worse than losing my parents. He was my soul dog. And we got him at 8 months old from Hungary, and we had him shipped here, or I hate to flown here. But the background of that story, how we ended up with Gus, is my daughter, who is a huge animal person, she called my husband and I, and we were sitting on the back steps of our house here, and she says, "Mom and Dad, you have got to get this dog." And we're looking at each other. We're like, "What do you mean?" It'd been 7 years before we had a pet, and she said, "You have 10 minutes to make this decision." I said, 10 minutes? And she said, "Yes, because this is his picture on Facebook. You have got to get this dog." And Dad, and Jim and I are sitting there looking at each other, and we're like, okay, wait a minute. We got to take a pause here and really think about this. Well, we had 10 minutes to make the decision. It was the best decision we ever made. So he was 8 months old at that time. And he was incredible. He really was. And I do believe that they come into your life for a certain time. And one of the things he told me, it wasn't the quantity of time, it was the quality of time. So my grief was just, it was beyond, excuse me, beyond something I've ever experienced. Because, our pets, they love us unconditionally, and they come in to teach us a lesson too. So when he passed away in December 7th of 2023, I thought to myself, I need help here. So I reached out to a pet communicator in January, Sunny Man. She lives in Australia. We had 10 sessions periodically for 8 months. And she was able to tune in to Gus in the afterlife. It was incredible. She said he is the most incredible dog I have ever worked with. She said I have learned so much from him. So she would communicate with him, send me the transcripts, or we would talk on the phone. And then I would comment on my comments. But during that time, I just had this innate intuition to just take pictures of memories that Gus and I had together and more or less try to manifest him coming back in my mind. And he would communicate with me through numerology, through song Over the Rainbow. And if I can pause right there and explain why I did the title, because it ties in. One day we were walking on the beach because we love doing stuff on the beach. That was our big adventure time because we have a beach house. He saw a rose sitting straight up on the beach. How uncommon is that? It was the only rose around. And he goes up and smells it. But that was the day of my birthday. And I thought, oh,
Oh.
what a beautiful gift. Yes. And we would always see rainbows together when we'd venture out. So that's why I called it Roses to Rainbows. But that's the song. I can't remember the Hawaiian guy's name, but it's that
Yeah,
song
yeah.
would
Yeah,
come on.
yeah, the one from and I just
The big
yeah,
heavy, yeah, yeah. He just
is
his voice. It,
Izzy.
yes, Izzy something.
Yeah,
Yes, that song would come on the most synchronistic time when I would turn on the radio. And that was his way of communicating to me. Sometimes when I was in my deepest grief, it was like, "I'm with you, Mom. I'm with you. I'm always here with you." And I felt his presence, and he definitely showed me a lot of signs throughout this journey, and still does. Yeah.
I I have two, and they're both near me right now. They were both kind of like mom, because usually most days except on podcast days, this is usually when we're walking. So when I record, then we walk it after, or I really have to wake up early and walk them beforehand. So they were kind of like mom, and I'm like, no, I'm recording, and so then they're right here next to me.
Oh,
So
love what.
I have two. So I can completely relate to this connection. One of my oldest, who's 8.5, she came to us on my mom had passed away in November of
Mhm.
2016. In December, we put our name on a list for in a breeder and for a litter. And then January, uh, they contact me. Oh, I thought that there's like drilling going on my end, right?
No,
Oh no,
that's
it's
a
on your end.
woodpecker. That's a
Oh, it's a
woodpecker out.
woodpecker on your end. Oh
Yes.
my goodness. I was like, is there drilling?
And listen to this. when I would go outside in nature, I would always hear that woodpecker thinking Gus was around. So yeah, I have a huge window that shows the woods.
Well, Gus wanted what
You
Gus
wanted
wanted
to
to be.
interfere.
I'm like, I'm literally taking off my headphones. I'm like, is there like a maybe they're drilling next door? Oh my gosh. Oh, that is
Wow.
so
And you
funny.
can hear that.
I
Wow.
can hear it. Yes.
Just
So the
that's
audience
very
can. So now we know if you guys hear the just know it's the woodpecker saying hello. So no, Evie came. I've said this so many times in the podcast, but I'm sharing it with you. But Evie's the pickup day from not a date we had chosen, the breeder had was on my mom's birthday, January 20th. So
wow.
she for me is she's my therapy dog basically. I feel
Oh,
because it was because of her what all the times I had to like take her on walks and she came to our lives on my mom's birthday. It is yeah, she's my little soulmate. I love my our other dog who's younger, but I
yep.
she has represented so much to me. So I completely understand this love and connection we have with with our pets and the what they nobody's with you as much as your pets really
Oh,
in
absolutely.
your
They
life.
know you. Oh boy,
Yeah,
they know you. And you see, you were in line with that. I just love how all that happened. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful
it
story, and I'm so glad you shared that.
Yeah, because for me that is a connection. And this is what I tell listeners a lot of times and even when I'm coaching someone, it's like if you think it's a sign and if that sign makes you feel good, then take it as a sign. It doesn't
Absolutely.
matter what others think. If it's
Yes.
something that's connecting you and if it's helping in your grief journey, take it. So as we were talking about signs and all this, all of a sudden our computer our thing threw us off. We had to restart. You guys won't notice this because I will be editing, like putting together. But anyhow, it was just like we're like, well, maybe that's a sign. But
Yeah,
so
I was just saying there's signs everywhere, and then all of a sudden, boom, we couldn't hear each other.
it's
But
like,
it's just a
yeah,
little. And here's another thing I'd like to add to the piece that you mentioned is listen to your body. If you feel like wow, then that's it. Listen to how your body feels if you see a message, and you're right. It's for you, no one else.
mhm,
Be very subtle. Or you could think, am I making this up? No, they the more you reach out, the more you're aware, they will come in. It's through my experience. I know that is my truth.
mhm. And how would it for you when you started hearing then you're having the medium
Hmm.
connect you and all these,
Hmm.
what were some of these messages that Gus shared? Just a little, just share a couple. I know
Sure,
we have to read the book to really know them
he
all.
he talked about being in front of the fireplace over a marsh, a fire pit over a marsh, and that was our favorite spot. There's the picture on the book is it no it's this there's one of the illustrations in the book. He's sitting in my lap, and she talked about something. The seat was red. Something about the seat was red, and that was him sitting on my lap. But the fire pit was right in front of us, and there's another picture of looking out on the marsh. So that was very accurate. Then there was, let's see, how can I condense this? Okay, so my husband and I went to Machu Picchu, and on our anniversary, I found this stone heart in right before walking to Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu. I hope I pronounced that right. But anyway, it was a stone heart, and I kept it with me forever. So fast forward when Gus had passed away, I had it in my hand. I was sitting outside and accidentally dropped it, and it broke. And I went, "Oh my God, is he telling me my heart is broken?" So, but prior to that, my dog and my daughter's dog well, let me back up here. My daughter's dog stayed with us for 3 months because Gus and her were like, they must have been lovers in a past life. So we kept her. But they would always go up on this fire pit in our backyard and walk around the wall and look for chipmunks inside the coals or whatever. So I was out one day, the next day after I broke the stone heart from on our anniversary in Peru. I walked out and I was setting my bird feeders up on top of that so I could, set them up and get them all ready to put on the pole. I looked down at the fire pit and there was a same size stone heart. And it's there's a picture of it in the book. Let me see.
Wow.
Do I have it here? Um, no, I've got it. Oh,
Eh,
this is it right here. This was the stone heart that was in the
Oh
fire
my
pit.
goodness.
Yeah, right there.
Oh wow. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, that
It
was another sign. Yeah,
it
and
is. Yeah, like, and so she's, these messages are coming through, you're knowing that it's him.
yes,
Now, how did that make you feel in the knowing that she was communicating with him? Were there any parts of the communication that had to do more with just, again, soothing your soul?
yes, and it just and the ways that I would explain to her how he is communicating, she said he is just so magical, and it was like I had to have a session almost every 2 weeks because I needed that to nourish my soul. And another sign he showed was, I think it was probably 2 weeks after he passed away. We used to call him Bobblehead when I would walk Stella, my daughter's dog, and Gus together. His head would bob up and down because his head was so big. And so I ended up calling him Bobblehead, the little doll, Bobble. So 2 weeks after he passed away, I'm on my computer and in the browser says Bobblehead. Yeah. And that's there's a picture. There's illustrations to back up
Of all of your
everything.
signs.
Yeah, I'm
Of
not everything that I say in that book is true. It's authentic. It's not made up. It's what I have experienced, and I'm not trying to sell anybody to say, hey, but what I've experienced is the truth and very authentic. But yeah.
And so in the past, and it's what, a year and a half then,
Hmm.
his passing. You've written this book in this time of these conversations and this transcript. What has been then your journey? How is your heart now that you've found this little heartstone and that you have? How does it feel? How does your soul feel with the grief?
Grief is a great transformer. And if you can get to the other side, it brings tremendous grief, tremendous strength and awareness, and how you come out as a new person, another person. It almost adds a different level of sympathy, compassion, understanding. And it just brings more insight and it could guide you to your purpose, what it's all about. But I definitely encourage people they have to go through their grief. And during the whole process, I always felt and that Gus would come back in some form. So yeah, we have a dog same from the same breeder, which came into our life. That he flew in the day my mother passed away, December 4th.
Set December 4th is your mom. So December 7th is his passing
Right.
and December 4th is your mom. And so it came into
So
your life.
the day my mother passed away, and similar situation with you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And there's some
yeah, we're
there's some
showing something
synchronicities.
here.
Yes. Now this was just this last December then?
Mm-hmm.
So he's
2024.
so
He's
how old is
we
he now?
right now he's 11 months old because we had to get him at 6 months
Mhm,
due to the new regulations the CDC had.
mhm.
Either we had to get him at 2 months or 6 months because a lot of the dogs from the war zones were being shipped here and
Oh,
being diseased and whatever. So the CDC put a clamp down. So we decided to get him at 6 months.
at 6 months. And
Mhm.
how has it been for you? Because you you know relating. What's his name, by the way? What's your new dog's name?
Zeke.
Zeke. How's it been this new connection with Zeke and developing this relationship?
It's just been incredible. When we got him and brought him here to our Atlanta house, he immediately picked up Gus's favorite toy, which is the small lamb chop, and he would put it in his mouth. And but
Yours is
he,
still a lot. He never just you don't understand. I had a lot of lamb chop. We had we called it Lammy. We had
we called
Lammy.
ours yam.
We had a lot of these, but the moment my youngest one, the moment Buddy came into our lives,
Yeah.
like most of Evie's toys have all just been eaten up whole. Like Buddy is he like he chews them and swallows them. So the fact that you still have Gus's lamb chop is like
Oh no, Zeke does
mind.
not chew up any of the toys.
And
Zeke,
neither, I guess, did Gus if you still had lamb chop.
no, 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 no. But Stella, my
Oh,
daughter's dog, so we had to
she would.
put some. Oh yeah, and yeah. So
So
then we
he picked up lamb chop. So like Gus's
Yeah,
favorite toy.
yeah, he came down the hallway, and that was the first toy that he picked up. And we're like, wow. And he loves to dance, like Gus liked to dance with me. Zeke likes to do the cha cha. He'll get a toy and wiggle his butt all over the place, like a snake, like in and out. And then when we went to our beach house, this was really telling for us. We had the whole entire house renovated. It took 2.5 years. So when we brought him in the house, it was like he had been there before. Now there are things about Zeke that are different. There, and he has to have his own personality. But we see how Gus will soul dog Zeke in times, and Gus was the alpha dog. I mean, Gus demanded. He was just had this big presence.
Presence, yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, yes. Yeah, this big presence. Where Zeke is, I almost feel like Gus is part of him is reincarnated to Zeke so he could experience more of a puppy because Gus
Mm.
was more like the soul dog, the older soul dog. And yeah, he was always there with me for everything, my protector, my provider, and so is
Mhm.
Zeke. I would have him right here, but
He's
normally I
still a
do
puppy. Yeah, he would probably be asking
all
because he's
over the
still a puppy.
place. Yeah,
Yeah.
but here's something very interesting I'd like for your audience to know is other dogs can pick up energy. So we brought Stella back after Gus had passed away, and she came out in the back. She walked out in the yard and was howling for him. It was like she was communicating. I videotaped it. She was
Mm.
communicating with him. So these animals know they communicate with each other. I mean, they're here to teach us. And we're here to learn from them, and they learn from us.
It's such it's such a
It's a
gift.
gift.
It's a
Yes.
gift. It's a
Yeah.
gift.
Hmm.
Them being in our lives and the fact that us humans can connect with a pet in that way with this unconditional love is it's just so beautiful. I love the relationship I have with mine, and I love what they bring out in me.
Hmm.
Um yeah, I just yeah,
Well, they
I love
know
it.
if they understand your energy. They pick up your energy. They almost and if you're not having such a great day, they understand that, and they're just silently
Mhm.
giving you love and giving you space, but loving you unconditionally.
which is such a learning for us, especially as we're walking alongside somebody that is grieving, for example. You don't have to fix how someone's feeling. You just have to be there with how they are in that
Exactly.
moment. And that is something that we can learn from our pets. They're not trying to they're literally just being with us just as we are, whoever we are. And going back to even just the aspect of homelessness, I'm curious, did Call ever have any dog that or any pet that he was able to, because I see a lot of times too the companionship and home, with dogs and in people
Yeah.
that are homeless and
Yeah.
this companionship that they have. So I just was
Hmm.
wondering, so that never
No, he didn't, because he caught trains and traveled all over the place. So um, no.
during that time.
Hmm.
uh has the grief, like, has Gus's passing and you're grieving, like, really, like, of like you said, you had never grieved in this way. Do you feel that within that grief, a lot of your emotions of your past griefs have it also has allowed it to just flow more?
Absolutely, and I think that's probably one reason why Gus came into my life and why he left when he did. His time was up at that point, and that was hard for me to swallow because I never expected him to die at 6 years old unexpectedly. But yes, because I cried and cried and cried. So I'm sure it's all threaded, no doubt. He's like, Mom,
Mm.
I'm gonna leave so you can grieve some more that you haven't grieved in the past. That's what, yeah.
Yeah, it's what a beautiful gift he gave you then of also
Yes,
opening up all these,
yes.
because yeah, because it might have been sometimes we're like in the middle of, like, if when certain deaths or losses happen in a time in our lives in which we have other things going on, sometimes we don't even really truly grieve. I met someone that her mom had died when she was in college, and because she was so busy with her college life, she really never grieved her mom.
Hmm.
She didn't
Hmm.
grieve her till 20 years later when she had, like, become a mom, like, herself, that all of a sudden all these emotions started pouring
Yeah.
out. So, yeah, like, sometimes things are just kind of there suppressed because of either we push them away or because of life circumstances. So when the floodgates open, just allow them to flow.
Exactly. And grieve as long as you have to.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. And go through the memories of your dog, of what you shared together too, is for me was really important. It was
It's another.
hard. Whew, it was hard.
How was it for your kids and your husband? Did they also grieve in the same way, or were they also grieving because of your own grief? How is it?
Both. Gus and my husband, they had their own unique relationship. It was like at 1 o'clock, they would take their man naps together. And if Jim had to be on a Zoom call or whatever, Gus would say, Well, I'm going ahead. And he would jump on the bed. He slept with us and take his man nap. But my daughter, Kim, there was a connection between Gus and Kim because when we go to our beach house, we Gus wouldn't sleep with us. He'd sleep with her, but yet Stella would sleep with us. And
Mm,
I mean, he would follow her everywhere. It's like, okay. So there was something there.
mhm.
But yeah, it was very
With
interesting to watch.
all the dynamics, so much
Hmm.
love, and what a beautiful story. And thank you for sharing that with us here, and for the listeners to make sure to go and get the book. How can people find the book? How can people find you? I will put the links below, but if you can share also.
Sure, sure. The book is on Amazon, and my website is rebeccaschaper.com. But I need to tune it up because I after the book, the one in 2000 about my brother, I just it was like, okay, that chapter's closed. But I need to get it
Yeah,
updated.
because
But
the
they can
book,
still go on there and
yeah, I couldn't find on that one when I went in last night. At least I couldn't find Roses to
Right.
Rainbow
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to get with it and get going and get that on there. So it's just, but
So whichever one. Yeah, but
but
that's a
they
way
can
of
order.
connecting
Yeah, they can order it on
on there.
Amazon. Yeah. And
Per-
and what I would like to say, if it resonates with the individual, I'll make this very quick. If the book resonates with you and you got inspired, you got a lot out of it, it would be wonderful if you could write a review, because this will help others if they see, a lot of reviews, and all the proceeds will go to a rescue center. So I'm not taking any proceeds from the
Mm,
book. I want everything to go to help a shelter. So, because it's in honor of Gus, and I know that's what he would want.
mm.
So,
It's what you're sharing, and the fact of like putting a review and letting people know that's there, sharing it with somebody else. Do you know that out of I've recorded 200 episodes, and as we're speaking right now, and out of all the ep- podcasts, the ones I tend to share the most, because it's I feel some of the grief that people feel more alone in, that sometimes a society doesn't understand, have been the episodes I've done regarding pet loss.
oh
So
yeah, I believe
be,
that. Mm.
because it is something that a lot of times you feel like nobody understands like why it is I'm grieving this much, or why, like. And so people is like, hey, my friend's dog passed, like, what do you have anything for them? I'm like, I actually do. Or here are these two so now I've got 3 episodes that are specific about pet loss. So I thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing this and being so genuine and honest about your own experience, because this way, when someone's listening, it validates what they are going through and feeling as well, and they feel that connection with their own pet. uh is that the woodpecker still?
Mm-mm.
No, that's my dog then. What? No, I still hear on your side. I hear.
I felt something right here. It was
Yeah,
kind of
like I
like,
could hear.
yeah, it was almost, I thought that's weird. I
Oh,
don't have anything right here,
on you.
but
Yeah, did you
in
hear
it,
it like a static? Sounded like a.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm like, my goodness. I'm like, we're really. I'm like, I keep on taking off my
No, I'm
headphones.
like,
I'm like, I
what was
keep on
that all
hearing.
about it? I'm like, oh,
We are getting
I'm
lots
like,
of
am I having a
messages
heart
here.
attack
We're
now?
getting lots of messages. Rebecca, I always like to end the podcast with is there something I have not asked you that you want to make sure that you share with the listeners?
Go through your grief, go however long it takes, and listen to the messages. What, just be open your heart up. And if you feel that, like, wow, I do know that was for me. And look for signs, because they want to show you. And once you open up, open your heart, and always say thank you afterwards. Always say thank you. I'm very grateful for this, because it makes them happy that they were
Mm,
able to touch base. Yeah.
yes, thank you so much. Again, this
Oh,
was
thank you, Kendra.
thank
I
you. This was
appreciate it.
Rebecca Schaper. And again, you can find her book, Roses to Rainbows, on Amazon, or check out her website. And then on Amazon Prime, if you want to watch the documentary A Sister's Call, regarding her relationship with her brother and helping him, that's available there too. Thank you again, Rebecca.
Thank you, Kendra.
And thank you, Gus. Thank you for all the
Yeah.
messages, Gus.
Yes. And thank you. All right. Well, you take care and have a great
You
day. And
too.
thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you again so much for choosing to listen today. I hope that you can take away a few nuggets from today's episode that can bring you comfort in your times of grief. If so, it would mean so much to me if you would rate and comment on this episode. And if you feel inspired in some way to share it with someone who may need to hear this, please do so. Also, if you or someone you know has a story of grief and gratitude that should be shared so that others can be inspired as well, please reach out to me. And thanks once again for tuning in to Grief, Gratitude, and the Gray in Between podcast. Have a beautiful day.